Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tracking a character named Alex on an exact journey from $0 to $10 million. But look, we aren't going to be talking about flashy stock picks or get-rich-quick schemes here. Instead, we're watching Alex master the intense psychological discipline of keeping financial success completely private. If you've ever wondered what life actually looks like at every single level of net worth, and why some people can quietly build this massive financial fortress, while others literally go broke just trying to look rich, you are absolutely in the right place. Here is our roadmap for Alex's climb. We'll start by building that defensive foundation, move through the 7-5-3-1 growth rule, cross the compounding threshold, dive into the absolute necessity of the tell no one rule, and finally arrive at peak stealth wealth. Let's jump right in. Phase 1. Building your defensive foundation. This is the initial grind from $0 up to $100,000.
So, to even get off zero, Alex leans on a strategy really closely tied to Gen X called defensive pessimism. The basic idea? You assume the absolute worst is going to happen. The car will break down, the roof is going to leak, the economy is totally going to tank, and because he trusts nothing, he prepares for literally everything by stockpiling cash. It's this brilliant defensive posture that acts as a psychological shield against our modern culture of endless consumer debt.
He pairs that paranoia with something called mental accounting. This is basically a mind hack to trick your own brain into leaving your savings alone, turning your money completely invisible, even to yourself. Alex doesn't just have a generic savings account. No, he has a do not touch unless the house is literally on fire and the dog needs braces account. By rigidly compartmentalizing this money in his mind, he totally removes the temptation to blow it on a quick vacation or a new car. He's essentially hiding his own money from his own worst impulses.
Moving on to Phase 2, the 7-5-3-1 growth rule. This takes us from $100,000 up to $500,000.
Hitting that first six-figure milestone is massive for Alex. Why? Because this is exactly where pure saving effort gives way to the actual math of compound growth. Scraping together that first $100,000 is a notorious, brutal grind. But once he crosses that line, the interest and returns his money is generating actually start to rival the physical cash he's putting in every month from his paycheck. The snowball is finally heavy enough to start rolling down the hill completely on its own. This is where the 7-5-3-1 rule kicks in, and it proves how time just dramatically compresses when you invest. Doubling his money that very first time takes Alex 7 long years. But as that principal gets bigger, the absolute dollar amount of his returns just explodes. The second double takes 5 years, the next takes 3, and eventually the portfolio is doubling in a single year. It's the exact same fundamental habit, just investing a steady amount every single month, but the mathematical results go completely vertical.
Next up, Level 3, crossing the compounding threshold and unlocking that sweet passive growth.
Now this quote right here brings us to a really harsh reality of behavioral finance. The mathematical engine of compounding is fragile. It literally only works if you leave it completely undisturbed. Compounding is a lot like planting an oak tree. If you keep digging up the acorn every couple of months just to see how the roots are doing, the tree is going to die. Most people never actually see those explosive 3-year or 1-year doubling phases simply because they get restless and interrupt the process. And you can clearly see the massive gap between interrupted savings and uninterrupted wealth. The classic trap people fall into is draining their stock portfolio to finance a lifestyle upgrade, like a big house in their 20s, way before the money has truly had a chance to compound. Embracing stealth wealth means Alex keeps renting a modest place, or he drives that old car for another decade, purely to let his capital surge past that critical middle threshold entirely undisturbed.
Phase 4, the tell no one rule. This is the steep climb from $500,000 to $1 million.
So, $500,000. This is the absolute danger zone, because this is exactly when the psychological pressure to look rich is at its peak. At $500,000, Alex has enough liquid wealth to go out and buy almost any status symbol he wants, right? He could buy the luxury sports car in cash. He could drop a massive down payment on a mansion. The actual friction to spend is completely gone, which means his only defense right now is pure ego discipline. So you're faced with the ultimate choice. Do you inflate your lifestyle just to look wealthy? Or do you embrace stealth wealth to actually become wealthy? While everyone else is out buying the mansion to signal their success to the neighborhood, Alex chooses the path of the invisible millionaire. He keeps driving the 10-year-old Toyota. He stays in the exact same neighborhood. He looks, for all intents and purposes, completely average. And here is the absolute golden rule when you start saving serious money. Tell no one.
Literally keep your mouth shut. The only reliable way to protect your accounts from sudden family emergencies, wild expectations, and intense lifestyle inflation is strict financial silence. The moment Alex tells his family he's sitting on $500,000, suddenly his cousin has this brilliant restaurant idea he absolutely needs funded, friends expect him to pick up the tab at every dinner, the external pressure to spend becomes immense. Keep your mouth shut, and you keep your money safe.
To actually survive this climb from $500,000 to $1 million, Alex has to mechanically follow 3 basic steps to avoid the traps that drain new wealth. First, he locks in his living expenses to what they were when he had a fraction of this money. Second, he literally trains himself to view status symbols not as prizes but as heavy anchors dragging down his net worth. And third, he just sits back and lets the math do the heavy lifting in total silence.
Finally, Phase 5, reaching peak stealth wealth, taking it from $1 million all the way to $10 million. For Alex, becoming the first millionaire in his family's history isn't about popping champagne or, posting a screenshot of his brokerage account to social media. It's entirely about having the quiet discipline to keep it a secret. At this stage, his investments are generating a really comfortable salary all on their own. He goes to work because he wants to, not because he has to. And the best part? The people sitting in the cubicles right next to him have absolutely no idea.
Once that first million is secured and hidden away, the timeline of Alex's wealth accelerates aggressively. It moves him incredibly fast toward generational, dynasty-level money. Because he hasn't bloated his lifestyle, every single dollar of yield is just being reinvested. We're back to that 7-5-3-1 rule here, but now it is happening with massive 7-figure sums. The leap from 1 million to 2 million is shockingly fast compared to that agonizing grind from 0 to the first 100,000.
And then we hit the ultimate boss level, $10 million. Money is now completely decoupled from basic survival. Instead, it's just a silent engine for total personal freedom. $10 million generates hundreds of thousands of dollars in passive income every single year without Alex ever having to touch the principal. He has effectively bought back all of his time for the rest of his life.
So this is what peak stealth wealth actually looks like. Alex blends in completely with everyday earners. He's totally mastered the psychological warfare of consumer culture. He has 0 flashy status symbols because his status is entirely internal. He enjoys absolute financial privacy. His ultimate luxury isn't a fancy watch or sports car. It is extreme time freedom. He's won the behavioral finance game by recognizing one really simple truth. The loudest people in the room are almost always the most heavily leveraged.
Alex made it, but the ultimate challenge here is for you. Look, the math of building wealth is surprisingly simple, but the psychology of hiding it from the world and honestly from your own ego, that is the true test. So ask yourself right now, when you finally cross that massive milestone, are you actually going to have the willpower to stay completely quiet? Because that is the ultimate secret of the stealth wealth ladder. Thanks for exploring this journey with me, and I hope this framework helps you build your own quiet financial fortress.